Hello everyone, welcome to Ashish Biology. In this video, we'll discuss about sexual reproduction in flowering plants. From this chapter, we'll discuss the first part, that is flower and its structure. Before starting this video, let me introduce myself. I am Ashish Kumar Das, a student of MSc Animal Biology, University of Hyderabad. Now let's get started. And if you are new to this channel, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for getting more updates. So what we'll discuss today, we'll discuss what is flower, what are the parts of a flower, then we'll discuss structure of stamen, structure of anther, structure of carpel and ovule. All of these things we will discuss today. Now flower is a shoot modified for reproduction. As you know, a true plant is having two systems, that is root and shoot. So flower is a modified shoot system for reproduction. Then how it is developing? It is developing from floral primordia. Floral primordia first will give rise to floral bud, and from that flower will develop, and this process is associated with structural and functional or hormonal changes. So what happens? Various hormones, phytohormones, play their role to develop the flower from the floral bud or from the floral primordia. Then what are the parts of a flower? A flower is having four holes, that is calyx, corolla, androecium and gynecium. The calyx is having individual unit called as sepal. These are green leaf-like structure you can see, and the corolla is having individual unit as petals. These are brightly colored to attract the insects for pollination. Okay. Then androecium is the male reproductive structure. Androecium is the male reproductive structure with units called stamen. A stamen is having two parts, anther and filament. We'll discuss this. Then androecium we have discussed. Then gynecium is the female reproductive structure with units called as carpel. A carpel is having parts like stigma, style, pollen tube, ovary, ovule. All of these we will discuss. Okay. And the flower will attach to the stem through a stalk, that is called peduncle. This is the peduncle, and receptacle is the actual point of attachment of flower with the stalk. Okay. So this is called a receptacle. This is also called as thalamus. Okay. So four holes: calyx, corolla, androecium, gynecium. Calyx and corolla are called accessory hole because they are indirectly involved in reproduction. They do not have any direct role. However, androecium and gynecium are called reproductive hole because they are associated with the reproduction directly. Now stamen is the male reproductive unit, and it is having of two parts, that is filament and anther. Filament is the long slender stalk, and anther is the typical bilobe dithecous structure. Okay. Now structure of anther, you can see this is a anther, then this is anther, this is whole is stamen, this is anther, this stalk is filament, this is the stalk, this is the filament. Then you can see the labeling also filament. Then this is a cross section, you can see this is typical bilobe dithecous structure, that is it is having two theca, it is having four lobes, that is each theca is having two lobes. So this is a theca, top down, this is the upper theca, this upper theca, this is lower theca. So this is having two theca, each theca is having two lobes. That's why this is called a bilobe dithecous structure. A longitudinal group, you can see the reddish color structure here. This is separating the two theca. That's why this is longitudinal group separating the theca. Then it is tetragonal, that is four sided with four microsporangia. The microsporangia is the organ or the structure in which that is formation of pollen grain takes place, and it is present two in each lobe. Later what happens? Two microsporangium fuse to form a pollen sac, that is a mature anther has two pollen sac. From the beginning it is having four lobes, but later two lobes fuse to form a single pollen sac. That's why it contains two pollen sac, mature anther. Now transverse section of anther. The anther is the part that having microsporangium. Microsporangium is the organ where the the formation of pollen grain takes place. So it is consist of four layer, you can see epidermis, endothecium, middle layer and tapetum. Epidermis is the outermost and single layer of cell. This is the outermost single layer of cell. Then endothecium is with cellular thickenings, it is inner to the epidermis. Then middle layer is having 2 to 4 layer of cells. inside the endothecium is the middle layer, 2 to 4 layer of cell, and tapetum is the innermost layer that nourishes the pollen grains. The cells of the tapetum may be multinucleate or uninucleate, that is by fusion, and they can be diploid or haploid or they can be diploid or polyploid due to fusion of the cells. Then in young anther, microsporangia contains compactly arranged. Here you can see they are compactly arranged tissues. But what happens when they gradually mature? What happens? The sporogenous tissue. Sporogenous tissue means the tissues that have ability to form the spores. That can be polar grain. They can be your female gametophyte. That is, they have ability to form spore. That's why they are called as sporogenous tissue. Okay. Now what happens at maturity? What happens? The two sporangia of each lobe, okay, fuses to form a single pollen sac. Now what happens? The gynosium. Okay, sorry, one thing I missed here. As the anther mature, this is called dehiscence of anther to release the pollen grain. The maturation of anther to release the pollen grain is called dehiscence of anther. What happens? The sporogenous tissue gradually developing into pollen grain and they separate. Okay, and what happens? Dehiscence is occurring to release the pollen grain. From these places, pollen grain will be released. Now gynosium. Gynosium is the female reproductive structure consisting of carpel. The units of gynosium are carpel, and a flower can contain number of carpel. It can be monocarpellary with single carpel, bicarpellary with two carpel, tricarpellary with 3 carpel, and multicarpellary with 4 carpel. In flowers with more than one carpel, they can be fused together, that is syncarpous, and they can be remaining free, they can be apocarpous. We will see this diagrammatically. Here you can see the carpels are here free. There are number of carpels. These are the number of carpel you can see. So they are multicarpellary, apocarpous, gynosium of mycelia or mycelia you can say. And here they are multicarpellary, but they are fused. You can't distinguish them as individual units. That's why this is called multicarpellary syncarpous of papaver. The example are important: apocarpous in mycelia and papaver syncarpous. Now pistil. Pistil is the unit of pistil is the unit of gynosium. What happens? Carpel and pistil. In one pistil, more than one carpel may be present. Here you can see in one pistil more than one carpel are present. Okay. Then pistil is having 3 parts: stigma, style, and ovary. Stigma, style, and ovary. Ovary is the basal swollen part and it is housing ovules. Inside it ovules are present that will lead to formation of seed. Then style is the elongated part. Okay, this is the style. This is the elongated part. It can contain small filaments. That's why it is called as filamentous part also, or elongated filamentous part you can say. The stigma is the distal part. This is the most distant from flower. That's why here the flower holes are present. That's why this is called as distal part and acting as a platform to receive the pollen grain. Here the pollen grains are laid. Okay. Now ovary contains small cavities called as locules, and inside the locule placenta is occur which bear the ovules. So placenta is the structure that give rise to ovules. Okay, you might be familiar with the placenta in animals. Now ovule act as a ovule arises as a primordium and placenta. Okay, first of all ovule arises a primordium and placenta. You can see this structure. This is the placenta. Okay, what happens? The attached to placenta, the ovule is attached to placenta by a small stalk called as funiculus. You can see the funiculus. Then hilum is the junction between funicle and ovule. This part is actually hilum. Okay, this is not level in this diagram. So hilum is the junction between funicle and ovule, and it remains a scar on the seed. After the seed formation, it remains a scar on the seed. Then primordium forms a mass of cell. Primordium forms a mass of cell called as nucellus. This is important. Nucellus is with nutrients, highly nutritive. That is the body of funicle, and it is with rich of food. So nucellus forms the body of ovule. Various structure of ovule are formed from the nucellar tissue. Okay. Then the integuments, 2 integuments, outer integuments and inner integuments, they surround the nucellus except at the tip. Here there is no nucellus. You can see this part. This is the micropyle. Okay, this is the micropyle. So the inner and outer integuments surround the nucellus except at a tip forming small opening called micropyle. Chalaza is at the basal part. Okay, that is opposite to micropyle. Depending upon the position of chalaza and micropyle, there are variety of ovules. They may be orthotropous, anatropous, hemianatropous, campylotropous, but these things are beyond the scope of discussion at our level. Okay, now the chala jai the basal part of ovule opposite to the micropyle and embryo sac. Embryo sac, this is the embryo sac. You can see this is the female gametophyte, mature female gametophyte, and this lie inside the nucellus. Okay, so this ovule houses the embryo sac. Embryo sac is the female gametophyte. Chalaza is the opposite to micropyle. Micropyle is actually the space through which the pollen tube enter. Okay, all of these things we will discuss later in later videos. Okay, and these things you remember: outer integuments, inner integuments, seeds, ovule, etc. What is the fate of this? We will also discuss. What is the fate of outer integument, what is the fate of inner integument, fate of ovule, fate of embryo sac. All of these things we will discuss in detail. Now thank you. I will soon upload the next part of the video. Till then, take care. Bye bye.